All right, welcome back. Today, we're going to be doing a little bit different. This is going to be kind of podcast style, and we're going to be going through what I think are probably the five most important things, or at least the five things I think about anytime I am planning an overland trip, really any trip for that matter. I've got my coffee right here. It's actually a double shot of espresso. So go grab yourself a coffee or a bourbon, depending on what time of day it is. We're going to do this in one take. So let's get to it. So for me, when I'm planning a trip, usually an overland trip, but really any sort of vacation or anything like that, there's five things that I'm going to think about. And that's going to be who, what, when, where, and why. And I'm going to prioritize one of those things. And then the rest of them are going to kind of mold around that to support whatever kind of trip we're hoping to take. So if I want to do a trip, maybe I'm looking at the who. I'm going to go through and I'm going to figure out who that is. Maybe I'm going on a trip with some buddies from college. Maybe that's going to be my family. And what I'm actually doing is going to change a lot based off of that. So if I'm going out with my family, I might be doing something totally different than if I'm going out with some college buddies or some people that are very experienced when it comes to off-roading. But I'm prioritizing that. And I may have to make some sacrifices. Maybe I won't be able to go down a super difficult trail. Maybe I'm not going to spend a lot of time out on the trail because I'm going with people that I want to actually spend time with. Versus if I'm going on a trip and I'm prioritizing something like where I'm going, that's going to look a whole lot different. So, who next would be what. And what and where are a little bit similar. The way I look at that, though, is what is if there's something specific that you want to do. So, like on our Keweenaw trip that hopefully everybody's watched already, we really wanted to go to the rocket range and camp right on the edge of Lake Superior. So, that day, we prioritized that. We spent less time on other trails. We didn't check out the towns and everything as much on the way out there. And we just kind of beeline straight for that. Now, I think of the where as like an overall area and the what is something specific. So we did sacrifice some other things. We didn't go on as many trails that time. Then a couple days later, when we were trying to get down to the Adventure Mine, that was our thing that we were doing for that day. So we got up, hit the trail in the morning, and basically went straight to it. There were lots of other things that we could have done along the way, but we had to make a sacrifice, so we didn't get to do that. Hopefully it's kind of making sense of where we're going with this and what you're prioritizing, and you can start thinking about this for your trips. So we've got who, what, and when. So now this is something, maybe you've got some time off that you want to use. You're looking at a certain time of year. That's going to make a big difference, because if you've got time that you can take off of work, off of school, off of whatever you're doing, and it's in December, that trip might look a whole lot different than a trip in August. Maybe in the wintertime, you're going to want to go down south. I'm working on planning a trip in the next couple weeks here. I don't want to give too much away because it's kind of a big surprise thing. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, can we talk for a second? When I was recording this video, I was at 666 subscribers. That just makes me really uncomfortable. So please, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Get us far away from that 666 number. I just don't like it. Anyway, working on planning this surprise trip, but it's in March. So I'm trying to figure out ways that we can not freeze to death in the middle of the night. I'm definitely not going up into the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, up in Canada, Alaska, something like that in the winter months. But also, I don't necessarily want to be down in the heat in Florida, heat, humidity, Florida, Georgia, all that in the middle of the summer. So maybe that time of year, I'm going to go north. Also, if there's something, you want to go on a skiing trip or something like that, that's going to change depending on what time of year you're able to go. So we've got who, what, when, where. So I kind of hinted this earlier. This is kind of an area. So if I want to go to, maybe I want to go out and see the mountains, or maybe I want to go to the Keweenaw Peninsula or something like that, I'm going to prioritize that, and I'm going to be looking for ways that I can get to that area. So if I'm trying to get to a specific area, I may have to, coming from where I live, if I was going out west, spend less time on the drive out there, maybe pass up a lot of things to get to that one area that I'm really interested in. This also could kind of tie in if you're going with a group of friends. Maybe you have to be a little bit more selective of who you will invite along on this trip. If you're trying to go to an area, maybe you want to go to Moab and do some really cool trails, but one of your friends has never driven anything but a Honda Civic, maybe not the right person to invite on this trip. All right, now that you're done thinking about who you're not going to invite on your trip, maybe you've got somebody that's also really experienced in one of those, or maybe you've got a friend that lives in an area and you can invite them because they know what they're doing in that specific area. Also, if you want to do that, that kind of helps narrow it down as to what you can activity wise and all that. If you know you're going to a specific area, start researching that. There's tons of awesome YouTube channels that have explored a lot of areas. A lot of these areas are getting like a tourism board of some sort, whether that's a government thing or just a group that's local. They're putting together some, I haven't really seen itineraries per se, but they're telling you a lot of really cool stuff that you can do. That makes it easy if you know you're going to one area, start looking at what's available there. So we've got who, what, when, where, and why. This is also kind of related to that. But if you want to go and you're going to go on, you looking for a trip that's going to be just gnarly off-road trails, well, that's going to cut out certain areas. And if you want to go to an area, maybe you want to go to the water, maybe you want to go to the, who knows, whatever that may be, the purpose of that trip, you can change it a little bit. Also, if you're looking at this trip to be a way to reconnect with family members or, maybe your college buddies you haven't seen, the why is going to be probably the most important, at least for me when I'm planning a trip, of why we're going out there. And if I want to go out with some friends or family, maybe I'm going to prioritize more time in camp and less time actually on the trails versus if I'm going out and the main goal is to do some crazy off-roading or something along those lines. So I think if you start off your planning with all of this in mind, it's going to be very helpful as you get down the road, but also keeping this in mind the whole time you're going. Because like I said earlier, you're going to have to make some sacrifices and kind of mold whatever you're doing to make sure it fits the primary goal. And you can have multiples of these. You might be wanting to go out with some friends, but also wanting to do some really cool off-roading trails. Or like when my wife and I went, we had our main goal was to explore the Keweenaw Peninsula. But then we also had certain things we wanted to do and certain areas that we wanted to hit. So there's some trails we knew we wanted to go to. There was some towns we wanted to go to. There was the mine we wanted to check out. And so we kind of incorporated a lot of these. And that's how I found it works best is you have kind of one overall and then everything else just molds into that and helps to support that. Now, like I said, this doesn't have to just be for overlanding. This could be any sort of trip you're taking, even business trips if there's other things like that. But just start thinking about it and planning it and deciding what is most important. And then everything you do for the rest of the trip should go into that. Now, I've talked a lot about this Keweenaw trip. I've got some other things on the channel, so make sure you check out one of these two videos right here if you want to see what we've done on actual trips that we've planned like this in the past.